this is definitely the answer for anyone who struggles to let their message fall on the right ears. Someone who deeply desires to make a difference, but they're not reaching the right people, not because they don't know how to do their craft, but because their message doesn't land on the right lap, in front of the right eyes, or in the right ears.
Welcome to Unjaded, or welcome back if you are a regular listener. I appreciate you, and you will appreciate my guest today. Tertia Riegler is an embodiment coach, among other things, and she's going to talk to us. She might have even just cringed at that term. So she's going to actually talk to us about what she does. She's a 3-5 Sacral Generator, and she was a member in the last round of Content by Design. So she's going to walk us through a lot about what's different about her content process now, how she creates offers in her business, how she uses her design, anything her 3-5 heart wants to share with us, we will be happy to receive. So thank you, Tertia, for being here.
Oh, thank you, Vickie. I always love speaking to you. So it is a real honor and privilege for me to actually be here today and to chat to your guests. So I'm very excited to get started.
Awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your business to get us started?
Yeah, so I'm a feminine embodiment coach, and I work specifically with burnt out women who are driven, who are high achievers, but who are always skirting burnout. And I help them find their own truth. I help them find a way back to themselves. I help them see their own brilliance, and I help them own their genius so that they can create more success with less effort. And I have to credit this so that absolutely to you, Vickie, because that's one of the biggest things that I learned in Content by Design, is that for everything that we create, everything that we write, all of our messaging has to be able to have a so that.
Yes.
Because if we can't say what the so that is, how the heck can our clients say what the so that is? So that was a brilliant lesson for me to learn, and a new insight for me to get. And I can see how this also makes kind of all of my offerings so much richer, because I think, how often does it happen that we go to a course, we attend a program, and then we end up leaving with not what we thought we were going to get, and we end up being disappointed. Yeah. But if we truly know what is that so that, then you can create that experience for your people. So to me, it's been super, super helpful to be able to do that. And that's what I bring to my women, help them find a way to create more success with less effort, with less hustle, and being in full possession of their full magnetic power in their whole selves, in their whole expression, and not only those presentable bits that we sometimes want to put forward to the world, the good girl bits and the nicer bits, but all of it. Mm-hmm. And when we own ourselves completely, then we can show up completely. And the way that we live then, it's a completely different level of living to what it is if we stand only with one foot in our own lives.
That's a powerful statement. Standing with one foot in our own lives. Mm-hmm.
I'll bring that into my messaging. I say that a lot, but I don't think I've ever written that anywhere. Okay, thank you.
And another thing that I noticed that you said was skirting burnout. I'm curious what that looks like in someone's life. What does it look like in her life if she's skirting burnout? How does she know that she's your person?
Yeah, I think what often happens when we hear the term burnout or being burnt out, we tend to think immediately high corporate position, in a high-rise building, very demanding. But the thing is, you get all kinds of burnout. And even someone who doesn't have a 9-to-5 corporate job that still could still have something like emotional burnout, where we are in demand. You could be a mompreneur, for example, but you're there for the family, you keep it all together, you're still trying to run your own business. And even in that, where we are spread so thin, we can have burnout. You could be someone like a therapist or someone who has her own health practice, and your work is very contained because you have clients that you see every day. So your work is very predictable, your practice is full. But then on the days when you don't have any clients, or if a client cancels, instead of taking some time out, you sit and you get down and you do some work because you feel responsible, you feel guilty, you feel you need to do productive things in order to have value in that day. And when we have patterns like this, what happens is we might not go into, I almost don't want to call it that, but I don't have another word to call it. We might not go into full out burnout, but we go into these stages where, like, having a weekend to rest is not enough. Going to sleep early at night is no longer enough anymore. It's almost like we feel we want to run away from our lives for a little bit and just go and live on a mountaintop where there's no one there to catch our breath, to breathe. And when that happens, when that begins to show up in your life, where even the little pauses don't give you the relief that you crave, this is how I see burnout, that we keep on skirting it, because you're almost there, but you're not quite there. You get to the edge of it and then you pull yourself back. But even living on that edge of burnout is also exhausting. You don't get to live as your full self. You don't get to bring all your gifts to the table. And you're sacrificing not even your well-being, but you're sacrificing who you are in that process. So this is a habit and a way of being that we need to unlock from. Because this is the other thing. People go, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. Oh, just, put some white space in your calendar. Oh, just rest, put your feet up, stop thinking about work so much. When people used to say that to me, it drove me crazy because I didn't know how to do that. And it's not as simple as that. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath. And this is kind of, I think, what the perspective that I like to bring to my work is logically, like, in your head that you need to take a break, or you need to put some white space in, or you shouldn't overbook yourself, or you shouldn't scroll or watch Netflix until whatever time at night and then get up early the next morning. We know that logically, but yet on a subconscious level, on a nervous system level, we still have these patterns that cause us to do those things that we know we shouldn't. And I put that in quotation marks, that we know we shouldn't. And my work is all about not getting you to be more productive or use a time management app or schedule self-care days, because those are nice, but they don't solve the problem. We want to go deeper, and we want to what is actually underneath there, and what is it that is holding these patterns in place. And when we can get to that and dissolve that and unravel that from where they are living in your nervous system and where they are living in your being, that's where you get the freedom to start making different choices. Because until then, you're going to make a different choice, but you're always going to fall back into those old patterns. And it's going to take a heck of a long time to change that. But that's what we try to do. We try plasters and affirmations and visualizations, and we fight with ourselves. And there is a better way to do it, a way that gets you there easier and with more ease instead of struggle.
I feel like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's almost more acceptable to be in full-on burnout in our society than you said something where you're working with women who are on the edge of burnout. And I feel like because they're just on the edge, I've been there, I've been in full-on as well, and I know you have, we'll talk about that, but because you're on the edge, it's almost easier to give yourself a pass and make yourself keep pushing through. Whereas if you were in full-on burnout, you'd get to lie down. You'd get to, if your adrenals gave out, you'd have an excuse, but you don't have an excuse if you're just flirting with the edge.
Exactly. And this is the thing, is we don't give ourselves permission to stop before it is too late. And again, not because we don't think of it, we do think of it, but there are things in the way of us being able to fully take that permission for ourselves. And I can think of so many examples that even happened in my own life. It might even happen to you, where you're so relieved when you get sick, because that's now you can veg on the couch and you don't have to feel bad.
Yes.
You don't have to feel bad. You don't have to worry about cleaning the house or making sure that all of these things get done because you're sick.
Yeah.
And what if we didn't have to wait for that to happen before we could start giving ourselves permission to live in a way that honors our own rhythm and our own natural cycles? And that is what's missing. But it's, I think we also need to be careful not to, like, I don't want to make anyone feel bad if this is the pattern that they're in, because it's not their fault. It's the world teaches us that, unless you are on the floor bleeding, you can still get up and do the thing. Yeah. Just feel the fear and do it anyway and push through and come on, you can do it. And it's all this rah, rah, rah. And that's rubbish. It's nonsense, because it doesn't work like that. If you want to be a woman who has a sustainable life that is balanced, where you feel fulfilled, not on a material level, but on a deep soul level, you need to get back to yourself and you need to begin to play by your own rules. And the only way that you can do that is by coming into yourself and discovering what your rules are, because your rules, my rules, they are all different to each other. So we need to come back into ourselves. And when you have that connection with yourself, when you've done the healing of whatever it is that keeps these patterns in play, then you don't have to wait for something to give you permission to rest or to do something different, or to start setting boundaries, because now if you don't do it now, it's the end of the road. So you don't have a choice anymore. We don't want to get to that point. We want to do it before the time, so that we can live our lives in a way where there is more flow instead of force. And when we do that, we are better parents. We are better lovers. We are better friends. We are better mothers and sisters. And we owe it to ourselves to begin to live in this way.
Well, and you didn't say this, but I feel like we're better business people as well. I feel like we're better able to help our clients when we bring our entire self to the party, when we're not tired out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The way that we are in service. I think so many of the women in your world are women who are in service to others, the kind of work that they do. And it's so important that you have to be in alignment in yourself to be able to be of service to others in a way that makes a difference.
And I feel like you do this differently than others in the space, because I know we get the term feminine embodiment tossed around. It's this new trending thing. And so many times it does mean buying a new blouse, having a glass of wine, having some bubbles in your tub. Like, it drives me crazy. My background is holistic health, one of my backgrounds as a Manny-Gen. And it was always something that I would just scream from the rooftops about, that is not self-care. So I feel like you're going so much deeper with this, and your messaging is also speaking very deeply to the soul of the person you're speaking to.
Yeah. I've got a theory about what you just said. I hope I'm able to articulate it. I think it's almost like, if we look, so there are many numbers that you can throw around, but if let's work with 5,000 years, which is a term that's used quite widely. For 5,000 years, where the patriarchy has oppressed the feminine. And what I'm seeing now is that, yes, the feminine certainly has awoken, and we are like teenagers, where we're still trying to figure the heck out, what does this mean? What does it mean to live in a way where we have divine harmony between our own inner masculine and our own feminine, inner feminine energies? And what I see out there is we're trying to figure out, what does this look like? And of course, this new agey kind of goddessy, you only wear white, you've got long blonde flowing hair, and you you sit on an island and you like look away of all the bad things so that you don't bring more bad things into the world. That's just another form of spiritual bypassing in a sense. And that's also something that the people who are in that need to work through that in their way to find their own truth. But this is something that I definitely found, especially because my modality that I use is feminine embodiment. So when we speak to embodiment, we think of somatic healing, we think of nervous system healing, we think of working with the body, the soma. And that is a big aspect of what we do in my work as an embodiment coach, is where we go into the body, because in our bodies, we have all the data from our mental body, our physical body, our emotional body, and our energetic body. And you can even bring our spiritual body into that as well. So all of that data is available to us. And this is actually what I see as our intuition. So if we can be in contact with all of the data that our very wise body holds, this informs the way that we move through the world. So this is how I work with embodiment. There's also the idea that I see used quite a lot is when we embody the energy of something. So you embody your queen energy, or you embody the like CEO energy, or whatever it is that you embody, rock star energy, which is something that I quite enjoy doing, be my own rock star. And so this is also an aspect of embodiment. And I use that as a modality too in the work that I do. But my true view of embodiment is what I learned through my coaching school, and it's a term that my teacher used, so I'm also using that definition, my teacher Jenna Ward. And the definition is that embodiment is when you inhabit your full self. So you are in contact with all of who you are, your light and your dark, your ugly and your pretty, your bold and your shy, your up and your down, your wide and your narrow, everything that is you. You are in contact with that, and you embrace that, you welcome that, and you allow that to be part of your experience, so that you can dissolve any not enoughness that you might hold anywhere in your being. And you can go and live as the fullest expression of yourself. Because when you live in this full expression, when you live as your authentic self, when you live your truth, your energetic signature changes. And what happens is you begin to become magnetic to those things in your life. And it's not about sitting down and having a vision board and then manifesting those things into your life. It's more about who you are being. And as you are being, as you are living, how you are showing up every day, when you are magnetic, you find that your life is easier. There is less effort, there's less push, there's less force, and things are in flow, which is what the feminine in feminine embodiment is about. So a lot of feminine embodiment teachers and practitioners bring more of a tantric flavor to feminine embodiment, and it's more focused on relationship. For me, it's more about the relationship that you have with yourself, not the relationship that you have with someone else. Because as long as you are not in right relationship with yourself, you're going to bump up against things. You need to have that relationship in place first. And this allows you to have fulfilling, rich, healthy relationships with the people in your life. And so just coming back to what the feminine is, the feminine, it's that feeling, flowing, intuitive, cyclical, magnetic aspect that we all have. We all have it. We all have access to it, but we don't know how to get there. And when you work with me, one of the things that you are going to discover is how you can get there, how you can access that deeper part of you that allows you to move through the world in a way where you are sovereign, where you are your own authority, and you can start making choices so that you can live in a way where you are true to who you are at your deepest, deepest core.
I could listen to you talk about your work all day, because I think it is so needed on the planet. And, I work mostly with women as well, and it is so needed. for us to be able to really embody ourselves and connect to ourselves again. The whole world is telling us we're not enough every damn day. It's just constantly internalizing messages of not enough, too much, all of the things we should or shouldn't do, should or shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's no wonder that we struggle with boundaries.
Yes.
It's no wonder that we struggle with people pleasing. It's no wonder that we struggle with being so very critical of ourselves, or that we try and work so hard to prove our own worths. And then we burn out.
Yeah. And blame ourselves.
And we blame ourselves. Yeah. And we think, this shouldn't have happened to me. I need to try harder.
Yes.
Yes. There's something wrong with me.
I can remember I was a long distance runner, I don't know, a few years ago. And I can remember, this is awful, but this is what it makes me think of as you're talking about burning out and just wanting to get sick so that you can lie down. I can remember thinking the odd time, if I got hit by a truck right now and just hurt my leg or something, not really badly, but I could lie down for a while. But I was in burnout and I was pushing my body even further. And I think that that's what we do. We fall into these patterns of the bro marketing space and the hustle culture and all these things in business, but we fall for it in our life too. Like, oh, if only I was more fit, if only I was this, if only I was that, I'd be able to handle this better. But it's not about handling it better. It's about actually having a completely different set of rules that you play by.
Yes, exactly. I call it the perfectionism fallacy, where we go, if I have this, then I will be happy. Then I will be in a relationship. Then I would not have a problem with the way that I look if I have this in place first. And it doesn't work like that, because we first have to feel how we want to feel inside ourselves before we can get it from the outside world. We have to do the work on the inside first. Otherwise, you're just going to keep on chasing things and the goalposts keep on moving away, and we keep on feeling that we are falling behind, that we are not enough. And we get in this mind twirl, we get so caught up in our own minds that you can't see the wood for the trees anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when we need to just calm down, come down into our bodies and connect with our stillness, our own inner wisdom, our own intuition, so that can give us the clarity that we crave. And we'll never find it in our minds, and we'll never find it if we are waiting for something to change before it changes.
Yes.
We have to be the change that we seek, as that quote goes.
So we're going to come back to human design for a few minutes here. You are a 3-5. How has your 3-5, who you are as a 3-5, how has that influenced the work that you're doing? Have you had to bump around with these kinds of lessons a lot?
Yes, a lot. My work is so informed by my own lived experience. And it's interesting because this was true for me before I even knew that I was a 3-5. When I first started coaching, even way back then when I started my business, my focus was always on those things which was a lived experience, something that I have been through, something that I have lived and seen through to the end, so that I now know how to navigate that, how to get through to the other side. So it made perfect sense for me that the way that I've been running my business is because I am a 3-5. But what also happened, and we have spoken about this before, what also happened is not only did it give me that clarity in terms of this is why I run my business the way that I do and why I work with the clients that I do, because of that personal experience element that I can bring to it. But it also helped me see myself differently in terms of the way that I laugh about it now, all the screw-ups I have made in my life and in my own journey, and lovingly accepting that it was lessons that, like, the best way not to do something.
But that's so important, because what I find I know you heard me say this 100 times in Content by Design, but third line profiles are so conditioned to feel like you can't talk about your mistakes. And I'm saying mistakes with air quotes, please. There's no such thing as a mistake as a third line profile, but you're so conditioned to think people won't hire me if I show them that. But that's exactly the thing that's going to get you hired.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And because we try and hide it.
Yes.
You try and hide all of these things that you perceive to be wrong with yourself. And what happens is, because remember, everything is an energetic exchange. So if you are in conversation or in relation with any other person, they're going to pick up there's something is a little bit off center here, and they won't necessarily think that you are hiding something from them or that you are trying to deceive them, because it's not about that. But because you don't bring your full self to the conversation, there's always going to be a little bit of a disconnect and a discord. I can remember when, I think I told you the story in one of our calls. I was in my very early 20s, and I filled in some questionnaire for a program that I was in. And one of the questions was, it was all about self-awareness. And one of the questions was, how do you deal with mistakes? How do you handle it when you make mistakes? And I actually wrote very proudly, I am someone who doesn't make mistakes. And that was true, because I had made so many mistakes as a 3-5, I had reached a point in my life where I made sure I was so painfully aware of all of my actions, all of my thoughts, all of everything that I did had to be without mistake, because I was someone who used to make mistakes all the time. And that only I maintained that for just a short little while. And then, of course, even when I tried not to make mistakes, I made mistakes. But I can vividly remember that, how I said, I'm someone who doesn't make mistakes. And I pride myself on that. But I ended up not enjoying being someone who didn't make mistakes, because I ended up being only like a very small and contained version of who I actually am. So knowing that there is something like a 3-5, it's kind of like, oh, crap, so that means this is how it is. And, oh, my goodness, thank goodness, this is how it is. Yeah. So it's a little bit of both.
There's such a freedom in that. Like, I think that's why I love 3-5 so much, is because as a Manny Gen, I feel like a lot of the conditioning is the same, because we are skipping so many steps and missing so many things. And you guys are out there being a little bit unhinged and saying things wrong. I'm putting that in air quotes, and, making mistakes and all of the things. So there's a lot of the same conditioning. But once we can stand in it and say, you know what, I'm going to show up in my business like this. I'm going to show up in my life like this. I'm going to show up in my content like this. People are going to see me and hear me for who I am. It's like the floodgates just open, and then people can find us.
Yes, absolutely. It's like when you try and not be that who you are. Like you have this ball that's under the water, like a big beach ball, and you're holding it down under the water. And that thing is so difficult to keep under the water. Yeah. And then the moment that you just let your grip go and you allow the ball to be the ball, it boom, pops out into the air and it floats, and it's a beautiful ball then. So we need to have more of that, instead of like gripping on for dear life, trying to be who we are not.
And nobody wants to deal with perfect people anyway.
No, absolutely
like it doesn't
not. Although I think someone needs to say that to some of these celebrities. With people are starting to all look the same. Yes. And it's, we all want to be so individual, and we want to make our mark in the world, and we do it by all ending up looking the same. And it's a topic for another conversation, but it's something that I find quite heart sore in a way, the way that this plays out in the world.
I actually had that conversation with my husband this morning, so it's funny that you're bringing it up here. I never watch TV, like never, not for 20 years, but once in a while, I can't say never because I'm the next thing we're going to say, but once in a while, so we had a snowstorm for 2 days, so we were snowed in, and I'm in the middle of launch, and I just needed to unwind. So we watched this series, and there's 2 women on there that are what society would call perfect. And it was just like they wrecked the whole show, because it was just this constant putting themselves out there as perfect. And I didn't even want to watch it anymore. And even he didn't really care to watch anymore. He's like, this is just weird. And like you said, there were 3 women in that show that look exactly the same. And I'm like, yes. Holy cow, what is happening to us? Like we're just carbon copies of something else. Not us, but yeah.
Little clones.
Yeah, but it's so crazy.
I've been down that road before, because you won't see me on the podcast, but if people see what I look like, I've got quite wild curly hair. And for so long, I had dreamt of having very, when you turn your head like this, it's like this curtain, this glossy curtain that swooshes. And yeah, all through my teens and my 20s and even into my 30s, I longed for hair like that until I also embraced my hair the way that it is. And there's a lot of liberation that happens when we allow ourselves to show up in our fullest beingness, and to be able to live from there. It's everything. It's everything.
So how are you doing that now in your content? How are you using your full self in your business? I have a couple questions around this, but I'll start there.
Okay. I wished that I could say, do you know what, Vickie, I'm creaming it and I'm like on top of it.
I wish that too for myself.
But I think it's slow, especially for me as a 3-5. It's all about experimenting. So I'm finding my way. And I'm actually doing the next round of CBD again, specifically to find my voice, because I felt like in the first round, I found that part of me from a business perspective, messaging perspective, that I was missing. So who am I serving? What am I here for? What is my design? How am I designed to operate in this world and serve my people, serve the women that I work with? So that was what came out of the first round. And now in round 2, or the one that's coming up now, not round 2, the next one that you're offering, I'm going to work on my messaging and translating what is rolling around in my mind and in my thoughts and in what I want to share from my experiences, to translate that in a way that actually is received by the women that need to receive it, because we're not for everyone, right? That's also the other thing, is you can't, and I believe especially as a 5th line, this is something that I am doing in terms of what have I started, is to allow my say it like it is aspect to come out, which I didn't really ever used to do that. Occasionally I would pop out and say things the way that they are, and then but I wouldn't stay there. Then I would back off and not do it again. And my content used to be a lot about saying things in the right way, whatever the right way is. It's again this whole perfectionism. There's one way to say something and it is perfect and you have to follow this formula. So I've moved away from that, and I'm really practicing the skill, because it's a skill, to allow myself to be bold and to say things as they are. I have always used my 3-line. So that has never been a problem for me, to speak about my experiences and share from that perspective. What was interesting that I had to, and this is what I want to deepen in the next round, is I don't speak to other 3 lines. I speak to 2 lines. Line 2s. I'm not sure how you say that in HD world. So that means my experience, I need to say it in a way that makes sense to you. I can't say it in a way that makes sense to, well, I can if I want to, but there's a way to say it that it makes better sense to you. And that's what I need to hone now, because I've never had a problem talking about my experiences, but it's about how I can share it now in the best way. And then, as I say, bringing that bold 5th line in, where I say it like it is, and may the chips fall where they will.
Yeah. So for our listeners, there's a lot of conditioning that I see on fifth lines, because you really are here as a fifth line to say it like it is. And lots of times those are messages that aren't going to land as well as you'd like them to. And that's because you have been told to sit still, look pretty, shut your mouth. You can't say it like that. If you can't say something nice, don't say it at all. Why did you say it like that? All of those messages. The witch wound, I feel like for fifth lines, is very, very strong, probably stronger than the other profiles. So it's really a stepping into that energy of, okay, I just have to be able to tell it like it is. And there is some harmony between that second line and fifth line. So I think you'll find some ease there, because there's a lot of projection on both. And then also what Tertia's talking about is, with content by design, it is a lifetime access kind of deal. And it's not lifetime access where you just have access to the modules. It's where you get to keep coming back for live rounds. So you just get to keep deepening it, because we're always adapting and changing in our businesses. Business is third line. And you're not going to do everything that needs to be done in your business. I'm not going to do everything that I need to do in my business in 8 weeks. We're going to come back through and hone things again. I think the last time you really, well, and this is your 352, you really worked on your offer, but then you said you had to go away and play with it a little bit and actually experiment. Is this right for me? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. I think what happened is I was bumping up a little bit against using the term burnout. Which is
you were bumping up a lot against that.
Yeah, some say a little, some say a lot. I will say I had a lot of resistance. And I used to speak just very flippantly about my women are burnt out, and then I would move on to the next thing. But I never really honored that they are women who are really struggling with this burnout cycle and the self-doubt cycle and the second guessing that they experience, and that lack of clarity that's keeping them stuck in this cycle. And we had Adam, I can never say his surname, Scheibler, was on the podcast, or he spoke to us about podcasts in one of the calls. He was a special guest, and in there we brainstormed a little bit about what I could possibly call my podcast if I relaunched it. And then this burnout theme came up again. You and I spoke about it afterwards, and I was just, no, I'm not feeling it. No, definitely not. No, I don't want to be here. Let me go.
Yeah.
And so I went away and I sat with a little bit, and I kind of did the things that I do with my clients. I took myself through some processes, and what I figured out was the shame that I was holding around burning out. And if I had to start speaking to other women who are burnt out or skirting burnout or flirting with burnout or whatevering with burnout, it meant that I had to own that I have been there before, and I know how, can we swear on here?
Yes.
How fucked up it is to be caught in that cycle, and to know that you need to, something has to change, because to carry on like this is not an option. And I had to own that and face the shame that I held in my body, in my nervous system, like in my soul about that. And once I faced that, and I did some of the practices that I take my clients through as well, I was then like free as a bird, in the sense that I felt such relief to just admit this white elephant that was hanging in the room that I didn't want to face and that I didn't want to look at or even acknowledge to be there. And once I did, it changed everything for me, and it actually allowed my creativity to kind of just boom. And I think my root just switched on, and I nailed like my podcast name, and I got clear on kind of the episodes and what it is that I was going to be talking about. And that took me a little bit away from the offer, because I was first creating my offer. And then I made a detour, 3-5 style, to think, okay, but now wait, I have to first figure out this podcast thing. And then once the podcast was clear, I came out on the other side and I realized that the offer that I had conceptualized in the beginning of our time together, it was where I am today. It was the same thing that I'm thinking about today, even though I took that detour. And it really is about helping women to own their genius, to step into their full power, whatever that power may be, so that they can have the business that they dream of, and so that they can have the life that they dream of, and so that they can have the relationships and be the kind of mother that they want to be, and bring that gift, not only to live that out as themselves, but also gift others with that, because that's what we do. Is every interaction that we have with other people is a gift. Like for me, being in your world, I receive that as such a gift, because I've learned so much from you, and I learn from you, I believe, because of the own healing and the own centeredness that you have already developed in yourself. And so without you obviously teaching me, I'm still picking that up from you. And this is how we can begin to change the world, by not only changing our own lives, but also changing the lives of the people that we connect with. And so I think I might have gone off on a tangent again, and I didn't answer your question properly, or did I?
No, I think you did. And that's such a key piece, is that our offers and our entire businesses come from our souls. And so many times what I see is people think, oh, this is what people need, so it will sell. This is saleable. People like this idea. And so they try to slap something on it and make that into an offer and create a message around it. But everything that we do comes from who we are. And like you said, thank you for recognizing that in my second line self. But like you said, when we're with each other, we feel into the strengths and gifts that we each have to offer. And that's as much what we give our clients as what we're actually teaching and giving our clients. But we have to get in touch with that soul of who we are, so that we understand what it is that we even have to offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when we like, the way that the world works and the way that we've been conditioned is we keep on looking for these answers and this who am I outside of ourselves. There must be some magic bullet. And I say this because I know I've looked for that bullet myself.
Yeah, same.
There's some magic bullet out there that will just, be the thing. And it's not there. It's inside. It's in you. And we have never learned how to find that in ourselves, because it's a skill. Not everyone can just do it like this. It's a skill, because we have so many things working against us. The world that pulls our attention outside of ourselves, this hyper masculine culture that's all about productivity and push and hustling and proving your worth. We have so many things that works against us, and that's why we owe it to ourselves to bring that, to turn that awareness inwards and to find the answers inside ourselves, find that clarity and the direction inside ourselves.
I love that. And I love how human design, that's one of the things that I think about human design, is that it brings us back to ourselves. It's, it's not something that you use to just figure out your message or just figure out your offer or just figure out it's because it's bringing you back to yourself, so that you're actually using your own gifts in everything that you do in your business, which is important.
Yes, absolutely.
So closing thought, someone's considering content by design. What would you think they would need to know?
Don't even think about it. Just do it. Okay, no, that's the easy way out. I think it's important to know that this is not a copy paste kind of course where you get just a set of templates or a formula that says X, Y, and Z. There is a formula, but it's a very high level formula, and you then need to go find your own formula inside the formula. I think that this is definitely the answer for anyone who struggles to let their message fall on the right ears. someone who deeply desires to make a difference, but they're not reaching the right people, not because they don't know how to do their craft, but because their message doesn't land on the right lap, in front of the right eyes, or in the right ears. Mm-hmm. And when you know how your design works, you stop working against yourself. You start working with yourself. And so your whole way of showing up in your marketing becomes easier, because now you are working with the one who counts, right? Which is you. Yeah. In your business. You're the most important element there, because if you're not well resourced and if you are not well positioned within yourself, how can you even consider giving that to others? You need to fill your own cup first. So absolutely, for any woman who feels that she's just missing that link that will allow her to speak to her people in a way that makes a difference, they'll find that in Content by Design. Because it's not you who tells us what it is. We get to discover ourselves and how we show up best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that reflection. And it's so important to me that each person always gets the attention. So that's another thing that oftentimes people don't understand. They think they're going to come in and, I'm going to throw up one person's chart and we're going to talk about it with 50 people. And that's not how it is. It really is individualized. Mm-hmm. And you coming back to yourself to find your voice and your message and your offer and all of the things.
What I also love is in all of the calls, all of the live calls that we all have a chance to speak about that aspect of our business that is not working. And then you bring up our chart, and it's not just you and me then talking, but the whole room, all of the women are in it together. I mean, I can just remember the first round that I was in is the amount of support that we hold for each other and how we kind of grow our businesses together. That's phenomenal. That's like such a cool space to be in. And we're all cheering each other on. And we have all been through phases where, I was in tears in there at once, and it was really hard for me. And just the love and the support that I felt from not trying to fix me or to make me feel better, but just holding me in that space. That is so, so, so valuable. And that's another thing that I'm so excited for the next round to be in that energy again.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So thank you. And I am super excited to have you join the next round. I'm really excited to get in the room with the women again, because it, like you said, you captured it perfectly. It's so good to be in there in each other's businesses in a good way and just supporting and holding and cheering each other on. I feel like there's not a lot of spaces where that exists for real. There's a lot of places where that, like the illusion of that might exist, but this is for real. This is real connection in there. I can say that for sure. So where can people find you, Tertia?
So everyone listening can find me on my podcast, Beyond Burnout for Driven Women. And that's on all the big podcast platforms. And if you want to find me on my website is my name and surname, so tertiariegler.com.
Okay, awesome. And I will link those in the show notes, because I know sometimes when you're listening to podcasts, you're on the go and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I remember that. And how do I spell that and all the things? So we'll link both of those things in the show notes so that you can get into Tertia's world. We also just did an IG live. So if you're listening to this close to real time in February, you'll be able to see that on my IG grid, and Tertia dropped some gold there as well. So thank you for being here. It's always so nice to get to talk to you. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Vickie. I love being in the room with you, and I'm so happy that we could chat today.
Thank you.